BREWtallyspeaking podcast is proudly sponsored by Rockabilia.com. For over 30 years, Rockabilia has been the go-to destination for all things band merch. With over 500,000 items in their online store and collaborations with today's hottest bands, you're sure to find something you love. Use our code BREW10 at checkout and take 10% off your total order. So go pick up your favorite new piece of merch now over at Rockabilia.com. And now, on to the show.
Say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing. This rings true because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, and if you're not having fun doing it, you're gonna give up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the BREWtallyspeaking podcast. I am your host, John, and this episode's guest is the returning Shawn Knight of Child Bites. This was something I've been trying to do for a little while now. I think that always sort of is the case when it comes to people I've had on the show previously and wanting to have them back on. But Shawn and the Child Bite boys have gone through so much since the last time I had them on. And it's just been an incredible thing. You know, there are sometimes, I can't remember if I've told this story on the podcast before, but I if not, here it is. But I feel so blessed and lucky to live here in Michigan and to just be surrounded by so many different types of artists, whether it be in more of the music space and so forth. I mean, if you go all the way back to the beginning of the podcast, getting to have Christy and Sadie from Hip in Detroit on, and what those two ladies have done to strengthen the community aspect of Detroit and kind of bringing it to the forefront for people and kind of doing the legwork of going and checking out new businesses, putting the shine on new businesses, and kind of being the change that those two want to see in their own area. You know, I'm thinking of someone like Joe Gall, a photographer that I've known for a very long time, but him starting off being a concert photographer and kind of very much like Hip in Detroit, kind of creating this thing where it's supposed to make you feel like you're there if you weren't there and kind of give you the most FOMO that you would have ever had looking at photos of concerts and parties and so forth, and just his everyday life and the way he chooses to see the city that he lives in a completely different view from a completely different vantage point than I feel anyone does. And I think that even goes into some of the music that is created. You go to someone like Chad Nicefield, formerly of Wilson, and what those guys were doing. And, you know, I can think back to even with Wilson going to Mac's Bar and seeing them open for a friend's band that was technically bigger at the time on the local scene. And I remember just thinking to myself, I was like, this band's really got something. And it wasn't the band that everyone would come to know, you know, as the local scene kind of drag of trying to do more than just weekend warrior touring and so forth. And those who want to be committed to the lifestyle and so forth, the band found its way and ultimately found the five guys that made Wilson. But having seen them kind of at the ground floor of everything and just being like, if this band can not get in its own way, there's something magical about what these guys are doing. And I could see this going really big. So to see it happen, you know, years later was, you know, kind of incredible. And Child Bite is one of those same bands for me where I feel like it's a band where maybe when you listen to it on record, you might be like, I don't dig this. And it really is the live show. And I think that's the other thing sometimes to me about some of the bands from here, or at least some of the bands when you go see them. Because ironically today, as I was listening to music at work, I went back and revisited a local band that I was into at the time, this band called Camilla. And I ended up living with the guitar player when I first moved out here to Grand Rapids. And it was a thing when listening back to the songs, I should say, that it took me right back to being, you know, just out of high school, coming up to see this band and seeing this band just kill it and just being like, I can't believe there's a band this good locally. And they were, by all accounts, on the verge of breaking and being like a signed band. Like they got every fucking opportunity that a local band could get, getting signed to, you know, Budweiser and Jägermeister thing, sponsorships, and getting all these big opportunities to open for all the nationally touring tours coming through. And it just was a thing where they seemed like they were about to be there. And then just, as luck would have it, some personal things happened and the band kind of had to change some members and, they just never got back to where they were. And Child Bite is one of those bands to me when I hear them that I just think it's on the live show. The live show is what sells it. When I think of Wilson, the live show is what sold me. When I think of Camilla, the live show is what sold me. When I think of all the different bands that are local to here that have really done something for themselves, it's always the live show that really fucking sells it. And I don't know. It's just, it also creates sort of, it's not an us and then there's you. It's all of us. We're all hanging out. And if it wasn't for this show, us playing, we would be out in the crowd drinking with you and hanging out. And it was a sense of community, I guess, or like a giant artist collective, for lack of a better term. And Child Bite has always been that to me. And it's something that's, it's four guys, and it's always been four guys as far as since I've been seeing the band, but it's always this thing where it just feels like guys who are comfortable in who they are, know what they want, and they don't pretend to be anything other than they are, and they make music that is fun for them. You can see that they're having fun playing it, and there's just a lot of joy when you see a band that kind of can let loose like that, like Shawn, the other Shawn, and Jeremy, and I forget the drummer's name now, the new drummer, but basically it's one of those things. Like, I remember getting to book the band back in the day, like probably 10 or 12 years ago or something like that, at least. I think it was when I first started dating my now wife, so that would have been about 13 years ago. And it was just a thing where I remember feeling like, oh my God, I got Child Bite. I got to fucking book them. And they weren't big, and I hate to say it like that. They weren't quote unquote a big deal, but they were a big deal to me. It was a big deal for me to book them. And to get to know all the guys over the course of that time since then has been really cool. And to kind of, I guess, showcase them in a different side. When I book shows, my whole thing was I want to showcase bands. I want to showcase people and artists that I think are really cool and should have more eyes and ears on them. And I realize as I do this podcast too, I guess it's an extension of that. I just want to have cool people on. I want to showcase my friends. I want to showcase people who are doing cool shit that I think is cool. And maybe you'll fuck with it. Maybe you won't. I don't know. But to me, to see where Shawn and everyone has taken Child Bite, it's been fucking incredible. It couldn't have happened to a more deserving group of guys. And they are just so lovely and so nice. And without further ado, let's get into my conversation with the nice Shawn Knight.
Job was remote and did not have fucking internet, and I would just tether and it worked. And I would just, for streaming movies and shit, we would just hook a little adapter to the TV and stream that way. And it's just, as long as you have like unlimited or whatever.
Yeah, we do, thankfully. But It's like, I was Googling because it kept giving me like an error code, and then I would look it up. And it was a stupid thing of, well, did you unplug it? I'm like, really? That's your solution? Unplug it. Cool.
But did it work or no?
No, it hasn't.
Oh, great.
So I'll have to fuck with it later. But
yeah, it's working. I mean, what you got going?
Yeah, I mean,
fuck it.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much. So this, I mean, unlike the last time where I kind of had more like defined questions I wanted to ask you, this is more just kind of a casual conversation anymore because I think it's more fun that way, personally.
Yeah, let's do it.
Then, I mean, how many more times can you be asked? So how did you get the name Child Bite?
I know, right? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, fair enough. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's like a dog bite, but scarier somehow. I don't know.
Possibly. I feel like dogs' mouths are a lot cleaner than children's mouths, I would assume.
Right. I mean, do you ever see an old movie? I think it was like late 70s or maybe 80, called The Brood.
Yeah.
This movie, yeah, The Brood by oh my god, I'm fucking blank. Oh, Cronenberg.
Not Carpenter. Cronenberg.
Not
Like
Cronenberg. Yeah,
Something with a C.
yep, and yeah, and there's like the woman would kind of like if she had somebody she was angry with, she would manifest some sort of creepy child to go attack them, and they definitely left bite marks. So maybe it was from watching that movie too many times. I don't fucking know at this point.
Well, I feel like at this point, I mean, God, the tenure of the band is like, I was trying to think the other day because I had to rearrange my office. So I moved the poster from when you guys did that mini tour that I had booked you on. And I was trying to think of how long ago that was. And I think it was in the beginning of my wife and I dating. So it had to have been about 10 or 11, 12, 13 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
Which seems crazy to think that I know you guys existed even before that. So it's like, I mean, you guys been putzing around for quite a while at this point.
Yeah. It started in kind of the fall of 2005. So it's been about close to 18 and something years now. Yeah.
Does it feel like that to you at this point?
That seems very long, but kind of. I mean, just like anything like that, like it's like sort of does and sort of doesn't. I mean, on one hand, it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but it also, if I think back to those days, it's like that was a totally different era of my life, and we sounded totally different, and it was just, I mean, it started with me and a couple other guys who were in the band for maybe 3-4 years, which at the time felt like a long time, but now in hindsight was somewhat of a blip, wild.
Well, like what kind of gets interesting to me, and something I've prosed to other people who have kind of experienced this, and I figure, you could speak to this, maybe having gone through this a few times. Do you feel having, I think sometimes when people talk about lineup changes, it almost has this negative connotation of like there's something wrong with someone in the band or the people that are still there. And I kind of almost like to look at it sort of like maybe it's what allows a band to stay around for 10, 15, 20 years, because you kind of get reinvigorated by new blood and new experiences and getting those firsts kind of again with people. And I kind of wanted to pick your brain about how you feel like that has maybe added to the longevity of Child Bite.
Yeah, I think so. At the beginning of the band, there was definitely more different views on what the sound should be, and so it turned out to be this like Venn diagram, of like what the band sounded like as the mix of all those, which I guess to some degree is what all bands are. But this one, it seemed like there was, for instance, in the early days, our drummer Danny did not like heavy music at all, and he was not into that. So anytime one of us would introduce something that was somewhat heavy sounding, like a riff or whatever, then he would do whatever he could on drums to counteract it, to make it some sort of strange, weird mix, which we were okay with. We're like, oh yeah, we're going to be this weird band that like has like unlikely combinations of elements and da-da-da, and that's all good. But yeah, as far as like you were saying, like reliving and adding some, kind of rejuvenating element to the band. Yeah, for sure, man. There was later on in, we had the era of the band when we really started touring a lot. I guess that would have been fucking like 2015, 16, 17, 18, somewhere in there, where we were just doing back-to-back stuff on the road more than we weren't. And at the end of all of that, we burned out a couple guys. We had 2 guys, half the band quit on the same phone call just because they just got burned out. And so then being able to bring in new people at that point was very, it was like a breath of fresh air in a way. Not obviously we missed the other guys and we wish that wouldn't have happened. But by the same token, you don't want somebody to stick around if they're done, if they like don't want to be there. Absolutely. And we're a smaller band. It's not like it was like their livelihood or something. It's something we're doing for the joy of doing and for the expression of the art and the way that we want to supposedly be spending our lives in our free time and whatever doing this shit. So if somebody's at a point where that's not fun anymore, then I've never had any hard feelings about somebody wanting to, saying that, hey, that's it for me. And so then having new people come in, then it's like, ooh, every time we were doing something, it's like, we're kind of seeing it through their eyes, It's almost like having a kid or something, having Jeremy join the band. He's not that young, but he's 10 years younger than me. And so like a lot of stuff we were doing when he joined the band in whatever 2017, I think it was, it did very much feel that way. It felt like, I'm more excited about stuff now because I'm not as jaded because I'm looking at it through his eyes. And for what it's worth, also, yeah, the creativity, is like you bring in new people, they have totally different styles and ideas and shit. So then it's like, oh shit, this is gonna definitely make the next batch of tunes unique, have its own flavor compared to, just anything with new ingredients. So it's cool. I mean, not everybody can be, the Beatles or Macabre. Maybe those are the two main ones. Well, and even Ringo maybe wasn't even an original member, so maybe only Macabre. Macabre's the only band ever to have all original members. But I know there's others, but that's the one that always comes to mind, that those guys have been playing brutal murder metal for the past like 35 years, and it's all three of the same dudes. It's wild. It's so, and it's not, but it's not without struggles too, man. Last time, it was in public, so I don't feel like I'm, being gossipy, but like the last time I saw them is when we played with them in Detroit with Acid Witch, but Childboy played the show as well, and I was standing side stage, and two of the guys were not getting along at all. It was kind of like, oh. I mean, they still ruled. It was still awesome, but just like have one guy, somebody, I think it was Corporal, that turn around and like looking at Dennis and Menace and being like, you fucked that up or whatever, just like, quit fucking up, and just like, holy shit, man, 35 years in, and but they're still doing it. They're still going for it, man. It's awesome. Well, brothers are gonna fight, siblings. At that point, you're like family, so you're getting on each other's nerves.
Well, I was going to say that's something I've kind of been thinking a lot more about as I get older, approaching 40 this year. And it's a thing where, thinking about just relationships and how do they work, and like, where do you fit into different relationships, and being aware of that. And to me, it's like, I think, and I don't mean to speak out of turn on this, but it's like, I feel like the perception is that, Child Bite is your brainchild. You're kind of the creative force behind it. And so when I kind of think about the longevity of the band, the different iterations of the band, and you yourself maybe having to find yourself, am I an instrumentalist at this point? Am I the guitar player? Am I playing keys? Am I doing this? Am I a vocalist? Like, you wear many hats even within what you do in the band. And it just kind of has made me wonder, have you thought about how the dynamic of you in the band has changed over these years, and how it's changed you as a person moving forward?
Yeah, for sure, dude. It's always been a very collaborative band. So, and I've learned there's times in my creative endeavors that I've had more of an iron grip on things, and I found that it's typically, I think maybe I'm speaking now with like from a more mature place with hindsight and everything, but typically it would be to the detriment of whatever the project was. And I found that I am pretty good at finding good collaborators and and recognizing like, oh, it would be awesome to have whatever. Now I'm explaining what a fucking collaborator is. Sorry, but like whatever, finding the right people and kind of being a Molly matchmaker in some sense, and just relinquishing some of that stuff, being like, hey, just be okay with the fact that like I'm not the best at everything. I know that, but I can have an idea, or at least even a general direction. And if I get the right people that think the right way or have the right talents involved, it might turn into something pretty freaking cool. So, the more I've done collaborative projects, which job it is, but it's changed over the years. It tends to be the best. It tends to be the best, like the more interesting, fully fleshed out, like whatever piece of creative expression. So, I do a bunch of stuff in the band, but it's always been musically, I've always just been one of the collaborators, instrumentally wise. And even now, like I haven't played guitar in the band in like 10 years, but I'll still contribute songs to the demo process, grab a guitar sometimes when we're working on stuff, just because, not because I think it's any better than what Jeremy's going to do or Shawn or anybody we've worked with in the past. But I do know that I've got some sort of weird, semi-broken, slanted, or creative, whatever thing to contribute there. I come up with a guitar riff in a different way than they do. So,
Right.
in a sense, just to even keep a little bit of the musical continuity to the band, I try to still throw some stuff into the mix. But nowadays, honestly, for Child Bite, most of the new riff ideas have been coming from Jeremy, the guitarist. The last batch of songs we wrote, they were all his demos. It would just then come to Shawn and I, and then we would kind of like go in and be like, "Ooh, what if we do this? What if we tweak that? What if we switch this out for something?" But they all started with him. So, and even artistically, that was something I always had an iron grip on, but not always to the, it'd be whatever, it'd turn out the way it would turn out. But like, for instance, we're doing a anniversary edition of one of our older records coming up here, and hired a painter to do a totally different cover for it. And I'm still going to do the layout. I did some typography for it, and I gave him some direction. It's my job. My day job is being an art director. So
Right.
I do that in my off hours too, with the more creative pursuits, and gave him some direction, but also know that when you hire the right person for the job, you don't have to give them too much direction. Sometimes
Right.
that can be to the detriment, and they feel like you're puppeteering them or something. So I gave them a little bit, like, here's the kind of the color scheme I'm thinking, but take that, with a grain of salt, or, feel free to explore. Here's kind of the subject matter, but just give me a general idea. But you also don't want to tell people too much, because they sometimes come up with the coolest shit on their own, and you never would have got that if you went in and said, "Hey, here's exactly what I want. Don't deviate. Don't think too much. Just do what I tell you." So it's a bit of a balance, I think. But yeah, I don't know. Collaborating is the way to go. Everything I've done in my later years that has been more collaborative has always turned out to be the best. Or at least in my eyes, I feel like I can bring what I can bring to the table and pair it with what they do best, and it just ends up being the best of everybody. So, yeah, but sometimes it takes a while to get there, to figure that out and not be like, "Oh, I've got my ideas and I don't want anybody to tell me no." So, like, it took. I had to learn that lesson, like I have to learn everything the hard way. So it was just yet another life lesson.
Well, I think something that, as I've gotten older, and, I kind of maybe attribute this more to therapy brain of kind of dissecting something a little bit differently and not maybe making a haste decision. But, I have found that there's something kind of more exciting and fun, and the outcomes are a lot better when you, admit that you don't know everything and just ask questions and let things kind of happen, to trust someone who you're probably coming to that is a better informed expert, whatever the term you want to use for that person in the situation. Yeah. But then on top of that, it's also like, if I don't know something and I ask you, that's how I learn. And I think a lot of times when we're young, I'll say for myself, that it's just like, you feel like, well, this seems like how it should go, so like, this is it, and like, I know, and you're speaking like an authoritative person on the matter, when really you should just like ask questions and have someone explain to you more.
Yep. No, nobody wants to look dumb. Nobody likes feeling that feeling. And so then you end up pretending like shit that you don't, and then you look even fucking stupider. So, but yeah, I think that's super, that's a very natural thing, and hopefully you learn it sooner than later. And so I've been slowly getting there,
Something I kind of wanted to ask you about, because this is something obviously you are about to do here in Grand Rapids in about a month-ish, but you've already done. And I talked to young Matt from King Parrot when they were kind of taking over your spot on the last Pantera run. But
I don't know if you can see my hat, man. King
I
Parrot.
can. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's a thing where, I haven't, like I said, last time we talked, it was really kind of the focus was Berserker Fest. And that was sort of the impetus of what we were discussing. And I kind of want to get back to that in a little bit, so I'll put a pin there. But, I had kind of asked Matt, and I'll preface this to you now, because something, and I don't mean this to sound like a backhanded compliment, but to me, part of the allure of seeing you guys is that like you're right there, like you're kind of right with whoever the crowd is that's in front of you. Those are kind of the shows you typically play, and you as a frontman are kind of more apt to be wild and get out in the crowd and kind of engage with the crowd itself. How have you found it to translate what Child Bite is to an arena level where there's 10-15 feet between you and the next front person in the front row, and translating what you're doing to a crowd that big?
Yeah, I mean there is that separation, so that's unique. We don't play a lot of big shows. Those were clearly the biggest shows we've ever played, and so it's gonna be more of that. It's more of just get up there and execute, type of thing, because there's not like we got a 25-minute set, and so we're just like, we've got their crew. Yeah, we've got their crew right there. We've got the stage manager probably looking at his fucking stopwatch, make sure we don't go over, because so everybody can get our shit out of the way and move on, get Lamb of God on ASAP. So it's definitely trying to not have too much time to think, too much time in between songs, any of that. Yeah, I mean, I like having people right there, but it's like, oh no, here we are, let's do it. You're just like, it's the translation has been fine. I think may have been one of the last shows we did on that last run. I did get down and get out there and touch flesh and ride the people until they drop me onto the floor. But so I'm gonna try to do that a little bit more this time. I think I was nervous about like breaking an ankle and fucking up the rest of the shows, but at this point we've done it, so whatever. Whatever happens. So I'm thinking I'll try and get out there a little bit more. That's another good thing about not having to have a guitar hanging around my neck, is I can have the freedom to do that if I so choose. But it's trickier. I gotta get down off that stage and jump. It's pretty much like a moat I have to cross with no drawbridge. So we'll see. I'm gonna do my best to get out there a little bit more. This is gonna be a little different. I don't really know exactly how different it'll be, but like the difference between these it was like amphitheater kind of thing, and now these are gonna be arenas. Like that, yeah, it was the sheds, and now these are gonna be arenas. I imagine that situation, with the security guardrail and everything will probably be about the same. Well, it's been cool. I mean, one thing I'll say is that we didn't know how it was going to go with these shows. Like back in the day, at least in the 90s, bands would get booed just for not being the headliner. We didn't know if that was going to happen. We didn't know if, because our band is a little eccentric or whatever, maybe for like somebody with more pedestrian tastes or whatever, would not translate. For the most, nothing negative happened. People were attentive, and every single show there'd be, obviously it wouldn't be packed yet because people are still probably in the parking lot chugging Strohs and listening to I'm Broken or something. But Pantera. Yeah, but there was always people
heavy
there,
metal
and there was
parking
always
lot in real life.
Yeah. Maybe not so much this time, because maybe they'll come in earlier because it's gonna be so freaking cold out in February, especially in Winnipeg, or Green Bay or Grand Rapids. We'll see how it goes. It'll be interesting. But people were receptive. People were cool, and there was always at least like 2 rows of people right at the front, and so those people, they are there. They most like, maybe they checked out a song or 2 of us beforehand, but they're like those young, hungry people that are there for the show. They want to get their money's worth. They're excited, and so if for nothing else, we're playing for those people, the people that showed up early, that came right up front, and they're want to check it out. They're ready. They're basically waiting for us to deliver. And okay, so now do we do it or not? So yeah, we go as hard as possible. And a little side note to that is, it's a lot easier to go extra hard when you only have a 25-minute set than if you have a set that's twice as long or longer. So we can kind of burn through the fuel even faster, in a little hot 25-minute run. So that's a good thing.
Was there much consideration for what kind of a set do you play for a crowd that's going to be, Pantera, Lamb of God fans?
Yeah, a little bit for sure. Because we've been around for so long. Obviously, we're not going way back to the early days with the the joystick and the keyboards and me yelping in a register that my throat won't even do anymore. But which I guess is sort of the same with Phil. He's not really, they're not even doing Cemetery Gates at like really high shit.
Right.
But we're all getting older, and but yeah, so definitely some thoughts, because we have a lot of material, and 25 minutes is not a lot of time. So what do we squeeze in? What makes the cut? It's definitely like a look at all the songs we played in the last few years. What should we do? But we have gotten to a point where I think we used to think more about like, oh, we should do stuff that's representative of the recent record because that's what we're promoting or blah 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 blah. Nah, at this point it's like, dude, let's just play the best songs. Let's just play whatever is best or whatever we think will work the best and that we feel the best about. So on these Pantera tours, we're playing a couple songs we play aren't even out yet. They're just but we're stoked on them. We're not out there trying to promote a record. We're just like want to be our best version of us or whatever possible. So if that means some new songs that aren't even out yet, that's fine. We're only switching out one song for this next run, and we're going to do a little bit of a different intro. And other than that, it's going to be the same thing. We're going to different places, different cities. So, it ain't broke. We're going to be even tighter at it because we've just been going through all that. So at the moment, all we do is get together a couple times a week and just run through the set. It's like training, training for a fight or something. Yes. We're just like, and we want to make sure we're quick, because we can't have time for like, oh wait, what song's next? And there's no room for that. So we're just running the set over and over and over, so that when we get up there, in case there were going to be some nerves or anything, like it's all just muscle memory.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think, something you were just saying about playing new songs, like I feel like that's, and I haven't quite figured out if it's because we live in a day and age now where if you have any sort of a following, that if you play something new and it's not completely finished yet, or, you're kind of still working on things, that it'll be online and that'll kind of become the benchmark of like, well, this is what the song is. And it's like, no. And I kind of miss the when bands would be like, we're excited about this new song. We're going to play it because like we're still kind of figuring it out. And you can kind of in real time see like, oh, maybe that part we're doing 5 times should be dropped down to 3 because it just the energy makes it realize like, right. And I feel like, there's just kind of this sense of like, it's fun and exciting when you kind of get to see a band play out new material that's not even out anywhere, because you feel like you're kind of in on like a little secret. It's like, oh, I can't wait for this song to come out. And I typically feel like the bands themselves, it's what they're most excited about because it's what they're creating currently.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, you're part of the process because they're kind of road testing it, and depending on your reaction even might be like like, oh, we should do the 3 instead of 5 or whatever. Yeah, totally. For us, I don't know. I mean, I think maybe part of it was just like at the time we had been writing those songs. We have recorded them, but they're not part of a release plan at all at the moment. And I think it was just like that we felt really tight about them, or felt tight playing them. So we're like, hey, yeah, like you said, we're the most excited about these. We feel really good playing them. There were songs obviously written with our current drummer. So we're like, hey, that's cool. Let's play a couple, because he's relatively, he's only been in the band like a year and a half maybe. And so let's, let him have some, some ownership of it whenever we play some of those songs. So it's, it's been good. And it really, it doesn't matter if people, like, we have that luxury of not, there's not, some people know who our band is, but it's not like there's expectations. So we don't really have to worry about like, oh man, people are gonna be bummed if we don't play blah blah or whatever. So we just do whatever feels best, and it'll probably translate.
Always kind of reminded me too of like when I used to come see bands around, like coming from Kalamazoo and coming up here to Grand Rapids, and seeing different bands playing. And they'd be like you would know a song, and it wasn't like you would buy the CD. You're like, oh man, that one song was so fucking good, and you get the CD, the only thing they have, and you're like, well, this isn't on. Where's that song? Oh, it's not out yet. And you're just like,
Yeah,
that sucks. I really want to hear that song, and now I have no way to do such.
right. But then maybe eventually you did, and then it was kind of that inside thing. We're like, you're telling your buddy, oh man, I saw him play this thing fucking 3 years ago, and then now it's on this one or whatever. And
Or like the
it's
verses changed and stuff like that, like lyrically or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
mean, I quite possibly will go back to these ones that we recorded, and I might redo the vocals because maybe it's evolved at this point now that a year later from when I originally laid them down. Maybe I'm gonna be like, oh fuck, I do it a little different now, so redo them.
kind of, I kind of put a pin on this thought, but I kind of wanted to talk about, the festival that you were doing for a little bit.
Yeah.
What what kind of made it? What kind of made you decide to end that chapter of the festival? Because it seemed like right when you stopped it is kind of when it felt like it was kind of starting to swell and become this bigger thing, like that a lot of people were looking forward to every year, and the quality and quantity of bands was starting to become a lot bigger. Why end it?
The quality, to an extent, yes. Quantity, not so much. It was getting smaller as far as the number of days. And really, I mean, a lot of it, just to be perfectly honest, comes down to financial stuff. It's, I mean, it's a lot of time to put into something, which I didn't mind. It was never a money thing. I never was getting a cent from Berserker. If anything, I was losing. That's fine. But once it started out being most like 90 something percent local bands the first year, and then the second year we actually Macabre was supposed to play the first year, bringing them up again, but then Dennis's mom was in the hospital and they had to bail, so then Acid Witch fluffed out their set with some Misfits covers and took over the headlining spot. But we had Ringworm, I think, on that one. I think Ringworm and Ringworm and Wolf Eyes were the main headliners that first year. But then the next year, then we had like Iron Reagan and Incantation and Poison Idea. We flew Poison Idea out for their first show in the area in however many, couple decades at least. And it was getting bigger. And then third year we had Voivod headline at the Masonic Temple and had Conan from England and a bunch of cool shit. And then it built up. The fourth year, by the time we got to the fourth year, we were like, all right, we're getting bigger with the bands, so we have to scale down a little bit. Otherwise, So the fourth year was when we made it 2 nights. We always would have a kickoff as well, but 2 main nights. One being Guar. I think it was Guar, the Obsessed, and Weed Eater.
Yeah, that sounds
one of the
right.
nights, and then I Hate God and Off and Negative Approach on the other night, and at the Crowfoot, and it was awesome, man. I mean, that was I don't know how we could beat that. That said, though, like for what it's worth, ticket sales weren't that great. It's not because we made it really expensive. It was not expensive. I don't know. I kind of attribute it to a little bit to like, I think people more nowadays to some extent are kind of like, aren't always as festival friendly. They kind of, sometimes they look at it as like, oh, it's $50 to see these 30 bands, but I only care about 3 of them. So I'll just save my money and wait till the next time that the ones I see come through, which I don't know. I mean, I'm speculating. I don't know if that's like the mindset of some people, because otherwise everybody that did come to it, the people that did come, I'm not trying to discount the fucking and be all negative and discount the people that did come and support the festival, many of which came every year. Everybody that would come to it always had glowing reviews, always loved it, always loved the 3-stage rotating schedule, the variety of the bands within this, heavy to weird kind of genres, blah, blah, blah. All the bands that played always had great things to say about it and really enjoyed it. And they would make their way out and watch other bands playing. And
Oop. I bet he got a phone call, if I had to guess.
okay, you back?
Get a phone call?
I don't know, but I think we're back.
Yep,
We're
you're
good?
good.
All right, cool.
Yep, you're good.
But yes, like you said, the 5th year was probably the most successful in that sense. I don't think we made our money back with I don't think we made our. I don't know why I'm getting all into the fucking micro back behind the scenes details, but I don't think we made enough in ticket sales that last year. But we did at the bar. Luckily,
Yeah.
people coming to a metal show, a big long metal show with 15 bands, like to drink, and so the bar did amazing that night. So that actually made it so I don't believe we lost any money. That last year it was a one night only thing. There was the kickoff, but then there was the one night main event, and that was with Anselmo and the Illegals. That was right when he started even dipping his toes back into some Pantera songs. I think they played one or two that night, maybe. And then who else do we have? We had Negative Approach. We had Macabre, just to bring them up again. It was great. I had Battlecross, had King Parrot to bring them up again.
Yeah.
It was Shock Narcotics' first show ever. That was a cool, fun thing to do. I bought a dime Dean and gave it away just to try to get people to show up on time. Like, hey, there's a free raffle at the beginning of the night. Show up. Because I wanted people to be there in time for Shock's first show because we played at like 6:00. It was great. I don't know, man. It was. I know I'm giving you a longer answer than you were probably hoping for, but it was a really great experience. It was awesome going through all of that for 5 years straight. It just, you have people financially backing something that is not exactly being a full return on their investment. That makes it hard to convince them. I possibly could have convinced them to, the people at the Crowfoot to help me out again, because I'm not in a position to be like paying out tens of thousands of dollars to bands.
Right.
But that, and I kind of didn't want to put them in that position to do another one if it was going to possibly be, they probably would have maybe out of loyalty, but I don't know if I was kind of like, maybe we just take a break. If it comes back naturally at some point, that's cool. I bet if it was going to keep going, we would have had some sort of situation where we're trying to like, hey, we should probably change the kinds of bands we're getting. Cause I was like, there were other people involved. My wife at the time, Veronica, was heavily involved with the festival. She had a say in the bands. The venue had somewhat of a say. The bulk of it, I believe, was kind of me coming up with my little dream mixtape, type of thing, which was a big reason why I wanted to do it. And if that was going to go away possibly, and we're like, oh, we can get this kind of emo, screamo, whatever the fuck thing that is just not fair. I'm not saying it's shitty. It's just not my cup of tea. But if we're starting to book bands that are not really my thing, then it kind of takes away part of the joy for me for what is essentially a very intensive free passion project. So it's kind of the reality of it. And then so we stopped, and then like a year or so after that, the pandemic happened. People brought up, like, hey, is Berserker coming back? I'm like, probably not. But that said, I might. I mean, I'm not putting down the idea of possibly doing something like it in the future. And there actually is something that's not the same, but I might be involved with something coming up that's like sort of a festival type thing that I'd be helping out with. I wouldn't be the main person, but helping out with. So I'm not opposed to doing more of that kind of stuff in the future. It's just so big, so expensive, so much time, so many moving parts, so many risks that it's
yeah. And then you lose them again for a minute. You're back.
All right. It may have been my batteries going a little low, but I still got 10%. We're good for a few.
Yeah. Well, no, it was just like it's interesting because like when I had talked to you initially, I think that's when because obviously if I was doing the podcast and I had stopped booking shows at that point, and sort of for the same reasons as you kind of brought up, like there's sort of the financial thing where sometimes you what you think is going to be a slam dunk, and you're like, oh, this money at this ticket price on this day should be a slam dunk. We should easily
with
make
these
that
bands,
money. And then you are walking to that ATM doing a walk of shame, kind of having to pull out your own money to make up the other part of the guarantee that you didn't have. And it's a crapshoot, and it's a thing where I still get people who are like, "Hey man, like, can you book this or can you do this?" And I'm like, I've been out of that game for like a decade plus at this point. Like,
Right.
I don't even know what the contacts I have at these places are still good.
Right.
But it's a thing where it's like, it's such a, I hate to say it like this, and I know when I say this, you will understand 100%, but it's like, it's such a thankless job, but it's the one that gets all the shit for, like, all the bands, if they're unhappy with you, even if it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with you. Like, everyone who wants to complain, you are the face of what the complaint department, essentially. And you're just like,
Yeah.
like, I think a big one for me was, dealing with local bands that had such an ego about them. And you're like, why am I dealing with this band who is done and had a career, still has a career bigger than you probably ever will, and they are less demanding than you, who is coming 15 minutes from your house to play a venue?
Yeah.
Like, insane. It's just insane to see
Yeah.
some of those things. And I think the other side of it too, which gets interesting, is like when you start dealing with contracts and guarantees and stuff like that. Like, famously, one of my favorite ones is when I was trying to bring Naughty by Nature to the Pyramid Scheme, and the money they wanted was just astronomical. And when I was like, well, can we play around with the money? Can we do a back end deal? Like, I was trying to make it work. And even the venue was like, if you can get this, we'll help you as much as we can, even if we have to float part of the guarantee or something for you. And it became this thing where when I was talking to the booking agent, he was like, well, this is roughly the as low as amount of time we can go for this amount of money. And I remember being like, dude, people would be pissed if they had to spend, and I think the ticket price I was looking at to make it work would have been about $28, $32 to make it work. And I was like, people would be pissed if they paid that amount of money and they only play for 25 fucking minutes. Like, no fucking way.
Right.
And then the dude was just like, well, and then I was like, by the way, like, I had just seen them play like on a monster, like an all-stars hip hop tour at DTE, Pine Knob, whatever. And I was like, by the way, is that the set I'm paying for? And they go, yeah. And I go, they only played 3 of their own fucking songs. The rest is like covers. And I was like, can I get more songs then for more money? And they're like, well, you're what we call a niche fan. And I was like, a fan of the group is a niche fan. Like, if I want more than just the 3 songs everyone knows, I'm a niche fan. Like, that fucking makes no sense to me. And it was just wild.
Yeah, that is wild, man. Yeah, they must be so far. I mean, obviously it's been 30 something years, and they must just be used to being categorized as the one hit wonder, and that's so. Yeah, so their actual fans are niche. So yeah. Man, that's wild. That's wild. I don't know, man. It's tough. It's a tough thing. Like you said, it's a thankless job for sure, and so I'm happy I've done what I did. I remember seeing a bit of a documentary about the MDF guys, and it was one of the years where they were doing it outside, and I think they had Venom playing, and they were running late, and if they went over by a minute, it was going to cost thousands of dollars, and the police were there, so they were on camera, like looking at the camera from a roof, watching down, and they were saying the organizers were saying to the documentary people, like, we're about to shut this down because we can't afford to go over, and everybody that came to our festival that we've just spent the past 6 months or whatever, like, organizing and putting everything we have into, are all going to hate us. Everybody's going to hate us, and they don't know why. They don't know it's because the band took too long, and now we're just dealing with the city time frame and blah 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 blah. I don't know, man, but I look at it like I went to 10 years ish ago. Went to Orion Fest that Metallica put on Belle Isle. And
apparently
it was
that shit lost money.
Right. And that's the example I give I think of when I'm like, I don't beat myself up on it, being like, dude, if Metallica fucking tried to do it and they failed or whatever failed, like, it's okay. It's okay. A lot of festivals stop going, pretty much all of them do. They only last. MDF is one of the only ones that's been going on, at least American wise, for almost 20 years or whatever it's been. So it's usually and shit changes over time too. So it's a thankless, very difficult uphill battle. There's so many factors, so many things that go wrong, especially with weather. That was part of the Berserker thing too, is we were trying to put on an event in a time of year that there's not a lot going on. So
yeah, I think
so the wintertime thing would bite us. Sometimes we'd have bands, not very often, but sometimes there'd be like a band that coming from Chicago that just like, sorry dudes, we're not going to make it. It's a blizzard out here, you know, like things, or just like what I think kind of happened when we did it at the Masonic, because that was the coolest venue, coolest setup, most unique. It was a part of the building that hadn't been used in a long, long time. So pretty much nobody had been in there, but yeah, it was shitty weather out. It was really cold and stuff. And I think a lot of people that didn't have a ticket already were probably like, I'm not going. And you have a bunch of people saying that, and then you have a light turnout, and it is what it is.
So, kind of one of the last questions I just kind of thought of, because I don't want to take up your whole battery and have you not be able to finish.
Yeah.
You know, obviously getting to tour and doing some of these things, and obviously doing housecore, being on housecore, you know, and working with some of the various bands, you know, doing your day job of, you know, graphic design and stuff like that. You've gotten to do some really cool projects. What has, you know, we're in a new year, so what is maybe a collaboration you would like to see done with Childbite, like someone maybe doing something with the band? And what is something you would like to see? Who would you like to collaborate with in a professional setting, more on like the other side out away from the band?
Who would I like to collaborate with? Childbite.
Because like as a joke on one of the posts, I made a joke. It's like, so Zach Wild's gonna throw a solo on like the new Childbite stuff, because you guys had, you know, Jeremy and him had posted a video or photo together. So it's like something like that, where it's like you could theoretically that could happen now.
That would be cool, man. I mean, I don't think I even told really anybody this, but like during the pandemic, I worked on a Childbite song that never ended up going anywhere, but and we didn't have a drummer at the time, and I did ask my man Justin Pearson from you know, Locust and Dead Cross and Retox and all that stuff. I was like, dude, do you think, because Dave Lombardo plays in Dead Cross, and I was like, dude, what do you think the chances are of me hiring Dave Lombardo to do a song? And he basically was like, I don't know, man. He's busy, and you should just find a drummer, man. So he kind of blew it off. I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm not expecting you to like give me his email or something, but like that was one. I mean, he's just like my favorite, you know, drummer, and the fact that now in 2024 at this point he plays in like some of my favorite bands, like now he plays in Mr. Bungle and the Misfits and, you know, all this stuff, like obviously Slayer in the past and that Dead Cross stuff with Mike Band's awesome. So that was one I had a while ago. I was like, oh, that would have been cool if I could have snagged Dave Lombardo. I don't know, man. You know, other than that, sure, get Zach Wild on there. Why not, man? Jeremy and I actually just went and saw him. We ran into him.
I know. On his way to Zach Sabbath.
Yeah, we ran into him like right on our way in. He was heading in too, so we went in together, and it was nice to see him for a minute. And obviously we're going to be seeing him again in a few weeks. So, you know, we've had Phil already. So, you know, we did some Anal Cunt covers with Phil about 10 years ago. We did a Celtic Frost song with him. Mm-hmm. So we've done some stuff with him already. So yeah, let's work our way through the list. Maybe we'll get Rex Brown to throw down some sort of bass intro or something. I don't know. Weirder things have happened. Voice. Yeah, man. Maybe just a nice speaking voice. Maybe I'll just maybe we'll have him do like a little spoken word or something. Like maybe we'll cover Thriller and have him do the Vincent Price parts.
I could totally see. I mean, not that there's not already a million covers of Thriller, but I think that would be an interesting take on that part, because
I bet there's none of them that has Rex Brown doing the Vincent Price parts. I'm willing to bet on that. I'm willing to bet.
And then for professionally, what is something that you would like to do?
Professionally, a professional collaboration. I guess you're talking art then, huh?
Sure.
Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, because I mean, like when you did like the layout, and I had like just had it on the tip of my tongue, but it was something vinyl, like, and you ended up redoing the artwork for it and the layout for this like box set thing. I remember.
Yeah, I did. Well, I think you're talking about the Super Joint. I did like a
Yeah, that's right. That one.
Revolver
Yep.
magazine did new versions of the two records, and I did a different alternate take on it. That was fun. That was a cool thing to do. Turned out really good. I think. I hope. Yeah, an RT. I don't know, man. I mean, back kind of just going back to the music side of things. I did do during the pandemic. Did a collaboration with some guys that's on YouTube right now. We did a Cardiac song called "Tard and Feather," where it was. I basically just had the idea of like doing everybody was doing those like kind of video covers, collabs, and shit, and I was like, man, this Cardiac song is incredible, and I actually feel like I could. I've got like a particular kind of voice, so I feel like this actually kind of suits me. I could do this, and I kind of just went shot for the stars, and it worked out. Again, collaborating with Chewy from Voivod on guitar, my man Dave Whitty on drums from Municipal Waste and a bunch of stuff, and Dave got Shane from Napalm Death to jump on from on bass, and then Shane got the bass player from Cardiacs to throw down on second base, and a bunch of dudes. And it's that's one of my more proud things. It's funny because it's just like a cover song, so it is what it is. But it was a very fulfilling collaboration, and I think I want to do some more music with some of those guys. Doing something. I've talked with Chewy here and there over the years, and we've talked about doing something. Just got to kind of find time in our schedules, and I think it could be kind of just come up with some like really crazy music. Not worry about it going anywhere or anything. Just like, what is the coolest, weirdest, most wild, fun, exciting thing we can do? Let's throw it down, and and so I think I've got a couple of those kinds of things that I'd like to make happen, and I should probably make a New Year's resolution to actually set some of those into motion.
I feel like the one band that I always would have, and maybe you haven't, I just have literally never come across it, especially if it was more of a live thing. I'm surprised that even, especially back in the day, I'm surprised you never did anything with The Armed, because that seems like a vehicle perfect for you to come in and do something with.
Yeah, I mean, The Armed, we're buddies for sure, and we've played shows. I could show you, like, it's funny. There's like old Child Bite shows from like 10 or so years ago where The Armed was one of the opening bands, and our little boys have grown up and have grown up, and they're off doing their freaking thing. They had their own strange path to the big stages, and couldn't be more proud or excited for them. It's awesome. The Armed. I actually played guitar at a show with them. I hopped up and did some Andrew WK shows or songs at a small bar in town called the UFO Factory a few years back. And that was fun. We're buddies, and those guys they're in video production. We were very close to doing a music video for Child Bite with them at the helm, and I think just whatever things it just didn't end up happening. But yeah, they're and then they did a movie at the Masonic Temple, and which was like basically like a bunch of different music videos, kind of like live performance music videos, and they hired the other Sean from Child Bite to help, like basically bringing gear and loading stuff in and being there. And I joined him for a couple days. I was like, I'm not even looking to get paid. I just want to kind of come help out and be around super creative people doing some really ambitious stuff, and if I can help out a little bit in some small way, like, it's awesome. I just want to be a part of stuff. So yeah, so I don't know, nothing really a full-on collaboration, but hey, it's I wouldn't put it past us. We could probably come up with something. It is. I will say this. I don't know why I'm doing this. My the last Child Bite release was an EP with a split with a band called Multicult a couple years ago. It's our most recent songs, 3 of them. A couple of them have music videos that people, if you're into that kind of thing, should check out on YouTube. One's a cartoon animated video called Pass the Glue, and the other one is a more of a cinematic kind of apocalyptic tale.
I was gonna say, is that the one with the like manhole thing with the guy living down there.
Yeah. It's
okay.
called, that one's called Erect for Dystopia. And on those songs, the drummer from The Armed is the drummer for Child Bite. His name is Hugh Ryan from Vermont. And
That's
super rad dude.
Had a Canadian drummer.
We're close to Canada. He was Vermont, but yeah, it's touching and in multiple ways. But and that was before I even knew he was gonna be playing in The Armed. Literally, I just knew him from his other band, and he is basically the son of one of the guys from Death, the old like proto-punk Detroit band. So he's comes from that lineage, but he's living out in Vermont, and I just thought he was a badass drummer. I saw some video of him filling in for Converge. I was like, if he's good enough to fill in for Converge, then he's good enough for a Child Bite song. So the most recent recorded Child Bite songs has the drummer from The Armed. So I guess that's the collab we have with them so far, but maybe there'll be more in the future.
I can see you guys doing a split and making it really weird or interesting.
Yeah. I'll hit up Tony as soon as we're done here and see what he says.
Well, you should. It's funny because that was a band that I think they were going to play the Pyramid Scheme or somewhere down here, and I was supposed to do a chat with somebody, and then I think like the show got canceled or something happened, and then just never happened, and then now they became like a giant band, and there's too many walls in my way to get them because if I'm not Spin Magazine or something, then the people who control that don't deem it worthy for them to do.
Okay. So. Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I could definitely see him playing the Pyramid Scheme. So I think in some form or another that could still work.
Yeah. But on that note, I will let you go. Is there anything you would like to plug or anything you want to talk about real quickly at the end here?
Not really, man. We're just all we've got at the moment is we're getting ready for these shows. So we got we're doing 5 of the upcoming Pantera shows, which are Lincoln, Nebraska, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Green Bay, Wisconsin, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and then a little venue called Madison Square Garden in New York City.
Oh, you're doing the Garden one?
We are doing the Garden. Everybody thought Child Bite would eventually play the Garden, and it's finally happening. Everybody knew it. Everybody called it from way back in the day. And so anyways, we're doing those 5 shows. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you're into Pantera, you'll probably already be there. If you're not into Pantera, then come see us next time. But we're going to be doing other shows in between. So maybe go on our socials because we're going to do like 5 warm-up shows and on our way to Lincoln. And then we're doing shows in between. So we're doing like Fargo on our own. We're doing Minneapolis. We're doing Chicago, like just our own like headlining shows. So, whatever, go on like the Instagram or Facebook and you'll see that stuff and come check it out, say hi, and whatever, have fun.
Very much looking forward to it if I can secure tickets in time before they sell out to see you guys in Grand Rapids because very much like when I got to see Every Time I Die play Van Andel, it's like that's a band that I never thought I'd see play venues of that size. So it was
for sure
really kind of cool as a longtime fan of them. And subsequently, knowing you guys more and having booked you guys in a little bit more of a personal rapport with all of you, it'll be kind of cool to get there early and see you guys play something that I honestly never would have imagined would have been in your future.
It makes no sense at all. It's from the kindness of Mr. Phil Anselmo's heart and his lovely wife, Kate Anselmo. Taking care of their bands and trying to do cool stuff with cool people that they dig. And he loves our band. I don't like at first I thought it was like, oh, he's kind of like throwing us a bone or whatever. He's legitimately one of our top 5 biggest fans. He stands at the side of the stage every night, watches us. After the show, later in the night, he gives us notes. He's like, oh, and this one song, blah, 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 the one with that bluesy part, that was kind of cool. And we're just like, dude, you don't even have that. It's very that's very unexpected too, that he like, but I think he just likes weird stuff. The last thing he wants to hear is some band that sounds like Pantera. That like I have people that hit me up like, hey, can you send my groove metal band's demo to him? I'm like, just to be honest, he's just not even into that. That's what he did. It's like so, but he likes much stranger music in general that he listens to for fun or whatever. So the fact that we kind of like merge various genres and throw some curveballs into it and have a unique voice is exactly what he's into, and that's why he's taking us out just like he did back in the day. He would take out I Hate God, Morbid Angel, Neurosis, Crowbar, a little band called Anal Cunt. Nobody would have thought Anal Cunt would be playing arenas in the 90s. It was because he liked it. He was like, he probably thought it was funny. He was like, yeah, I want to get Anal Cunt up.
It is funny.
In front of these people. Yeah, it is. And so it's just like that. We're just like part of that like kind of tradition that
lineage.
He's been doing. Yeah, part of that thing he's been doing the whole time. So super grateful. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we're just going to go up there and do the best we can and just have a good time.
Well, hopefully if you're, I don't know, I sent you a text yesterday, but I don't know if it's the same number you used to have or not. But regardless, if you're around, we can have a nice $12 beer together. Yes,
definitely. Yeah, email me or DM or whatever if that one didn't come through. So we'll talk. We'll make it happen.
Fair enough.
Yeah, buddy.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay warm.
Oh, you too. Thanks, man. You too. Bye.
Bye. So that was my conversation with Shawn Knight, again, of Child Bites. If you would like to keep up with them, they are hitting the road here at the beginning of February on their support tour of sorts, supporting Lamb of God and Pantera. I'm very fortunate that they are actually playing here in Grand Rapids, the second to last date that they are doing that support tour. Although, I gotta say, if I would have known they're playing Madison Square fucking Garden, I probably would have tried to do a lot of things to go to that show. I might have even just asked the guys, can I just ride in the van with you to that show? I'll sling merch. I don't know. I'll do something. I've always wanted to see a show at Madison Square Garden. I feel like that's just, as a sports fan, as a fan of live music, of different venues and so forth, it's just, I mean, how can it not be a bucket list venue for you? I mean, goddamn. And to see Child Bite, I mean, that's the other thing too. I think, as I was sort of saying earlier in the intro about, just being really proud of a lot of the friends that I have that are very creative people and getting to enjoy their successes, even if it's from afar. I mean, getting to see something like that. I mean, the two closest I've really seen would be, like I said, Patrick from Ice Nine getting to watch Ice Nine Kills climb the ranks of a touring band to literally the last time I saw him playing an arena, playing a stadium. Fuck that, not even an arena, a stadium, opening for Metallica. And it's like, I remember seeing them, basically the second of four. I mean, I have seen them play a 400 cap room and not even be able to sell that out way back in the day. And so it's a thing to me where, I think we need to celebrate our friends' successes. I think we need to celebrate anyone in your life that is of importance. You need to help celebrate them, raise them up, make them feel good for what they do. And that's something I've really kind of come to realize a lot more in my own life, as I have really, really great friends that do the same to me. And as I have said several times, it's really hard for me to take compliments. It's really hard for me to not feel like I should deflect and push that attention, that I don't even accolades, whatever. It always is a thing where I know that someone else had a hand in part of it, and therefore they should also seek recognition. They should receive recognition, and is a thing where, for anyone who talks about like the podcast or whatever, like the first thing I usually will say is, well, it's because I have a very supportive wife who doesn't mind me sitting back here and taking time away that I'm not spending with her to do the show week in and week out. And it's a lot of the sacrifices that she makes for the two of us, or allows me to make on behalf of the two of us. And so I just don't know how to not be that way, but I can give it back. I can give it back to my friends. I can give all the compliments in the world. And honestly, like I said, it's incredible to see your friends succeeding. For me, at least, that's all I can speak to. It just really inspires me to want to do better, to achieve my goals, set bigger goals, and just keep going. And it's honestly something that, like I said, seeing what Child Bite is doing, it may not seem like the band that should be there. I mean, something I actually didn't tell Shawn, there was, and I don't give a fuck about naming names because this dude's a dick. So, Danny, why the fuck can't I remember his name now that I'm going to say it? either way, there's this dude in a band, Davey Suicide, that's his name. Davey Suicide, I remember when Pantera announced the support for their last like run of shows, the last touring they did before this Metallica stadium show, and kind of the same thing. Phil basically invited a lot of the housecore bands out to open for them, and it was a thing where I remember Davey was like, "Can you spell Bion?" And I wanted to just, and I did comment because I A, don't give a fuck, and B, I'm not gonna let someone else in the industry, honestly, that fucking, I'm burning the bridge. I really don't give a fuck. I don't usually do this, but I just don't care. But basically, I commented because I know for a fact people on the other side of the touring industry have told me that dude has bought onto tours that they were looking at buying onto, and that's how he got on them. And so it was one of those things for that fucking asshole to call out a band for being a buy-on band when he legitimately does do it. Fuck him. That's shitty. Secondly, if you knew anything about Pantera, you knew that Phil was always supporting the underground scene. And to use a Josta-ism, he puts the ladder down for the other bands and tries to bring this underground scene up with them. And so obviously with him having a label, that's what that's about. Obviously with him headlining these shows, why not bring out the bands that you signed to try to get, bigger eyes on the thing? And it's a thing to me where I think it's awesome. And it's a thing where I can't imagine what that's like. I can't imagine playing for Pantera, being a Pantera fan. I don't know anyone pretty much who's into heavy music that doesn't at least like Pantera, at least a song. But that band is basically, in my eyes, picking back up in that sense of supporting the underground by doing what they've always done. And so to have Child Bite be a part of that, I think is fucking rad. And honestly, it's so cool to see what Shawn and those dudes do. They, like I said in the intro, they are just unapologetically themselves. They do music for themselves. The art they create, I think, is fun. It's original. And it's fun. And I love seeing those guys perform, and I haven't in a while, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing them play in my local arena, something I never thought I would ever see. I mean, there's literally a poster that I got, the screen printed poster from the show I booked on the little tour they had done, where they played a tiny bar here in my town, and now they are playing our fucking arena. I will be there 7 p.m. sharp, and I will be seeing Child Bites and enjoying every second of it. I've gotten to do that a few times for other bands that I've loved that are also of that ilk. Every Time I Die, most famously, playing that same arena. I got there hella early to see those dudes because that was never supposed to happen. They were never supposed to be playing in arenas. So it's all inspiring. And basically, like I said, show love to those that mean something to you, that deserve it. So I want to thank Shawn for taking the time. It was really great getting to reconnect with him after a handful of years of just not being able to do such to that level. And like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing the guys in a couple of weeks and getting to hang out with the Shawns and meet Jeremy and the new guys and hopefully get a nice little bro down here in town. If you would like to keep up with Child Bite, you can do such at childbite.com. The website is a little bit outdated, doesn't have a lot of the current touring on there. It looks like it was kind of from the end of last year. If you want to keep up with their socials, though, you can go to Child Bite Official on Facebook. Instagram and Twitter are at Child Bite. I will warn you, though, the Instagram is pretty much the only social media they use that is current. Everything else is kind of outdated. Facebook as well, but Twitter doesn't look like it's been updated since 2020. But all that said, if you like keep up with Shawn, you can find him at Shawn Knight 000. Keep up with his going-ons, with his art projects, and just whatever else he's got going on. The dude is very busy, and again, kind of inspiring to see just how he makes time for the things that matter to him. Something I take away when I see that, personally. And for the Brewtally Speaking podcast, you can find us on all your major social media platforms at BrewSpeakPod. If you would like to email me, you can do such at brewtallyspeaking@gmail.com. And let's give one more shout out to our sponsor, rockabilia.com. Head on over to rockabilia.com, redundant statement, I know, and use our code BREWtally at checkout. Take 10% off your total purchase order. They are doing a ton of collabs. Holidays are coming. Valentine's Day is coming. Get your fucking man or chick some sweet merch. Save some money. You don't got to tell them that you save money. Just use my code. That's all I'm asking. Save you money on something you already want. That's a win-win. And for the Brewtally Speaking podcast, I am John. I will talk to you all next week where I am talking to people. I have a few podcasts I'm doing. I will figure out which one I'm putting out. So you'll just have to stay tuned and come back next week. And until then, enjoy the rest of yours.